Okay, so we have Judy from Urbane Cafe here to talk to us about culinary R&D and how she creates menu items and helps the business, like what her role is in the business. And we've heard from marketing and finance and training. So really now to hear from culinary, what you do is going to be really, really fun for us. So Judy, can you tell us a bit about where you are, what you do, and maybe your career path would be helpful to start?
Yeah, absolutely. I started by working in regular restaurants as a sous chef, and I was looking for a job that was a little bit more corporate to sort of have match my schedule because I was a new mom and I kind of wanted to have my evenings available. So I was linked into this founder that started a sandwich concept. And so they were open Monday through Friday in downtown Los Angeles, called Mendocino Farms. And I joined in as their chef at when we were at one location with that concept. And then I helped grow them to about 10 by the time I left. So I was with them for almost 8.5 or 7.5 years. And then I worked for myself. I opened my own business, and then I came on as a consultant with my current company, Urbane Cafe. And when I was hired here about a little less than 4 years ago, they had 19 locations, and now we currently have 31 locations. So we are a growing concept, and my roles are, it's expanded. It's a little different. Being a doing R&D for one location versus doing R&D for 30 locations and 100 locations. So it does get a little bit more complex. Actually, my title went from director of culinary to director of culinary and supply chain because we don't actually have a supply chain director as of yet. We're at 31 units and we just opened up in another state. And so supply chain is something like, how do you get product from one state through a distributor to another state? So that's sort of like, how do you get product in to your state to begin with? So that's all part of the R&D process. So, when you're at one store and a chef creates a menu item for one location, it's really easy because you can just like, even buy it at the store, an ingredient.
Yeah, if you run out of milk, you just go next door. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can just like put together a menu item and then like just sell it and see what happens. But when you start to get to a location, when you have like 10 locations that you have to buy for, that sort of has a little bit of an impact, more of an impact, in terms of like, well, you gotta work with the distributor to bring it in and things like that. So it's a little bit complex, more complex, when you start thinking about things in terms of R&D for multi-unit concepts.
Yeah, and you're talking about with one unit, it's more simple because you can, you know, be inspired and thinking, oh, I'll just put this out on a special. And if it does well, we'll add it to the menu and you can be much more reactive and flexible. So what is your process or lead time to getting a menu item for Urbane Cafe? What does that look like?
Actually, I'm usually about 8 months or 9 months out. So I already had my LTO. We just started testing an LTO, which is a limited time offering. So that's a special. And so we just are testing it, and we're going to be launching it company wide on April 1st. So that's already been decided. We have a summer LTO and a fall LTO, which has already been approved and decided. And so right now we're in March, and so I'm trying to get our January 1st of 2025 approved.
Oh, that's just crazy. So right now you're March 2024 and you're thinking ahead to what are we offering in January 2025 and how backing that out, like how am I going to get the distributors on board? How am I going to get marketing? How am I going to get the team?
Yeah, absolutely. Because even, for example, the soonest that you can ever come up, which is actually what happened with this particular LTO, is that once I get something approved, for research and development, like, you kind of go out there, you always have to like, once you get something approved, you then have to test the recipe, right? And so that's the development part, right? So you do research to get a menu item approved, and then you test it. And so I'm testing recipes to see shelf life. I'm testing, when batch sizes, like, some restaurants don't sell as much and are not as busy as other restaurants. So I have to do a small, medium, and large batch.
Interesting.
I do prep, and so then it's like you develop recipes that have those different batches. So you're testing that. You're testing shelf life. You're communicating with the manufacturer or talking with your distributor, like your Cisco or your Worldwide Produce are two distributors, and you're bringing it in through those distributors. Usually for specials, I use my produce distributor, but if it's something that Cisco carries, like they actually have an 8-week lead time. So I already have to I have to do this 8 weeks in advance, and I have to give projections based on how many
Yeah,
we're going
it's not
to
like you can
sell.
call up
Yeah,
Cisco. A few of our students are going to tour Cisco. You just can't just call them up and just say, I need 100 pounds or 100,000 pounds. I don't know what kind of quantities you're working with.
yeah. And then
Um,
you work with the marketing team to you have to do a photo shoot and then
yeah,
come up with marketing campaign for them. You have to do food costing because once you bring it in through the distributor, you have to figure out how much do you charge for this. And so it is many, many, many things. And then also training materials. So then, at 31 locations, I have to write recipe cards. I film training videos. We do build out cards and all that kind of stuff.
yes. So that is such a technical piece of your job. On more of the art and creative piece of your job, I see your cat.
Yes.
On more of the art and creative piece of your job, how do you come up with inspiration? Where do you find your inspiration for new items?
Everywhere actually. It's you always have to be you have to naturally be interested in the food industry. So that's sort of you shouldn't be in the food industry if you're not naturally looking at new food or checking out new restaurants or kind of following up on the trends. There's lots of publications that I subscribe to, like Eater LA or like Taste, which is a magazine that come out with trends. There's tons of articles written out there about what's been trending in terms of flavor. Traveling, is always great. Testing out new restaurants and thinking like, how can I use this in an ingredient? So yeah, it's you're always thinking about it, to be honest. Inspiration can come anytime, anywhere, whatever you need. So like
And
for example, there's actually one recently last year I went to a Greek restaurant and I tried I had this cheese called halloumi cheese, which is like an appetizer that they use in a Greek restaurant. And I was thinking that the texture and the flavor would work really well in a sandwich. And so I'm testing it right now in a future sandwich. And that was just because I had dinner with my mom at a Greek restaurant.
I love that. And can you tell us a bit about Urbane's menu and the mix of it and kind of maybe some of the best sellers?
Yeah, actually, the first sandwich that was created at Urbane Cafe, and we've actually just celebrated our 20th anniversary last year, was a sandwich that our founder Tom created, and it's something that he eats all the time. It's called our SoCal. That is our number one selling sandwich at Urbane Cafe, and it's just very simple. It's chicken with a little bit of tomatillo salsa and avocado and chipotle aioli. So it's really simple, but it's tasty and it's something that you can actually eat every single day. We have our most popular salad is our cilantro chicken salad. And because we're a California-based restaurant concept, a lot of our top sellers are sort of Mexican food inspired top sellers. So our cilantro chicken has a cilantro vinaigrette, mozzarella, chopped greens, and that one is just again something that you can eat every day. And so our concept is food that you can have every day that's a little bit healthier than what's out there. So our number one bowl is our salmon bowl, and that one has sweet potatoes and mixed whole grain rice and seared salmon, and that is our number one selling bowl as well. So again, a little healthier for you than other concepts.
We had somebody else in another video talk about your concept and your vision and who you are as your North Star, and everything trickles down from there. Your menu development, your training, your marketing all feeds up into who are you as a concept. And it's really cool that you talked about, for you, one of your competitive advantages, and that the students are working on their own concept. One of the competitive advantages that you have is that you are something that you can eat every day. So your price point and your menu items need to be consistent with a meal you could have every day.
Absolutely. And especially when it comes to menu development, like for example, I'm not going to put an Italian sub that has like salami and, olive oil and oil and things like that because it tends to be a little heavy. And so, but I might do like a little twist on that. So last year, for example, we did our version of a pastrami sandwich. Pastrami sandwiches is not healthier for you because that's like one of the heaviest, fattiest, richest sandwiches that kind of make you want to take a nap after you eat it, right? But the reason we brought it in is because we developed tri-tip is one of the leanest available cuts of beef. And so that's why we have tri-tip on our menu as our beef for our beef sandwiches. And so it's very lean. And so it has a lot of protein with a little less with less fat than the other traditional cuts. And so we developed a pastrami tri-tip. So it has all the flavor, but it's using a less fatty cut of meat, whereas traditionally brisket, which is fattier, is what tri-tip is made with. And then we paired it with like slaw and this bright, zesty mustard and pickles. And so we made it a little bit healthier. And so that when you eat it, you don't feel heavy and you don't want to take a nap. And that's why it really is like on brand for us, even though it's
On brand.
yeah,
Yes, like how are you making things that fit? You would not have, yes, and each restaurant kind of has their thing, right? Like some restaurants are super big on LTOs and wacky food that are very like buzzworthy, but maybe trendy.
yeah,
And like you are, your everyday healthier meals. Some are your indulgent restaurants, some are your steak restaurants, your special occasion restaurants.
yeah.
So how is your menu supporting the overall concept?
Yeah, definitely the brand and the mission of the brand for sure. That's very important.
Okay, we're going to wrap up. As we do, is there one piece of advice you would like to share with someone who's just starting out in food service, culinary, or hospitality?
I think that, what when I started in culinary, I was a career changer and I wanted to be in culinary because I never kind of got tired of looking at restaurants and looking at food and sort of being involved in food and I liked feeding people. But, no, through my career, there's so many things that you can do with food. Like it's literally any talent you have, you can bring it into the food industry. And so
I,
that's why I want to encourage people to just,
yeah,
pursue
you can
what
find
they
your
want.
spot. You don't have to
Yeah.
be this particular type of chef. Like, look at where your career has taken you and what you've done now. Perfect. Well, next time at Urbane, I'll think of you and feel very healthy about my choices.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Judy.
Okay. Bye.